everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm with Constantin and David from Fastgen, both co-founders of Fastgen. We are really happy to have you here. We discovered your product fairly recently, and we're quite interested to know more and to showcase it to our teammates and also our communities. So thanks for taking the time. Today we have about half an hour together. So let's make the most of it. And before we dive into the demo itself, just wanted to start with a quick introduction. If you can maybe tell us a bit about yourself and the backstory behind Fastgen. Yeah.
Yes, would love to. First of all, thanks for having us, Lucian. Hi to everyone that's watching. So we are Fastgen. Constantin, me, and our third co-founder, we met a long time ago in college. This is actually our second rodeo, our second company together. We started working together back in 2019 when we started an educational financing company in the US. We sold all of those assets of that company in the last year and then went back to back and started Fastgen. The idea for Fastgen, for everyone that doesn't know the product, it's a low-code backend platform. And for our first company, we developed lots of complex platforms, external-facing platforms, internal tools. And we thought how tedious it can be to copy-paste boilerplate code. And we thought, okay, there must be ways to make this more efficient. And we are big low-code, no-code fans. And we believe that there are fantastic tools out there, especially for the front end, that we also love using ourselves. But we always had the feeling, okay, there's something lacking for the backend part. And we have two ways of thinking about the platform. On one hand, we want to accelerate anyone that is already really, really good on it from a technical perspective. And then on the other hand, we also want to enable folks that are somewhat technical, but would just benefit from things like fast deployment, for example, spinning up APIs and other things. And we have different kind of user groups on the platform at the moment. Happy to show you what it looks inside. And that's a quick intro about us.
No, that's perfect, and I think it's awesome that you took the same team and started something new again. That's amazing. I mean, the obviously the most difficult always is to find the right teammates and right.
For sure.
Partners. So you have such an advantage with this. Well
I agree. And we took our best 4 or 5 engineers from the previous company, and Constantin is our CTO, and he pretty much leads that whole product team. And obviously it took some time to take these great individuals and form it into a well-oiled machine. So that was obviously a fantastic head start to have that machine up and running from day one.
And it's a really good sign that your former colleagues kind of signed up again to join you for the next adventure.
I agree. Yeah, we're very happy about that.
All right, shall we jump in?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so you can share your screen and you can add it to the feed.
Yes.
Give me a sec. There you go.
There we go. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so what is Fastgen? Fastgen, as I quickly introduced, is a low-code backend platform. You can build lots of things with our tool, APIs, cron jobs, workflows, user auth management. I'm going to show you all of these different pieces side by side, and then we can have a look at an example or two, and then we jump into questions at the end. So the heart of the platform really is the API builder, which I want to show you in action here. Here you can add a route, and you can quickly spin up any kind of REST API endpoint here that you deploy, and it will be instantly hosted by us. You always start in this interface with a top action block up here. And in here, you modify the core settings of this specific endpoint that you're about to create. So we can say it's an example endpoint. You can change the method request. You can change the path and some other core settings like authentication, who can access this API, body validation, things like that. Once you've set the core settings, we can pretty much start building our API. Some APIs will be very simple, just 2 action blocks. Others can be very complex and go to up to 100 or 200 action blocks, depending on what you want to build. We have an action panel here on the right with flow controls, actions, and responses. And you just grab these things and add them here. Flow controls give the API and workflow structure, and they just define on what this endpoint should execute depending on the data that is received. So if we hop in here, for example, you can specify an if condition. Let's say some customer data is coming in. You can click on one of these variables and then say, okay, if the age is larger or smaller than this, or if the address is this, then please execute either one or the other. Yeah, we have other flow controls also. You can specify loops, you can assign variables. That's something that we've released recently, where you can add functions. Yeah, if you want to manipulate your data a little bit, that's coming in. So lots of different options that you have for flow controls. Actions are executables. So we have either native actions or third-party integrations. Let me show you some of the native actions that we have. We have a DB query. So every Fastgen project comes with a hosted Postgres database. Yeah, that will be for free available for anyone that uses the platform. And you can query that database at any time throughout the API call with a database query action here. And in here, you just write basic SQL, yeah, and then play with your database in the background. In case you already have an existing Postgres DB set up somewhere, you can also just connect that to our platform. In general, we think very modular about our platform. If you prefer to have your database outside, you can connect it. If you want to build user auth somewhere else, you can connect it. So we don't force you to use all of the puzzle piece that we offer for you. But in case you want to have it all in Fastgen, everything's there that you need. A couple of other things is HTTP requests, which pretty much lets you call any API in the world. You can just call an API of yourself, another third-party integration that we don't have a native integration with. So lots of options here. Anyone that's familiar with Postman is probably very familiar with this kind of interface. So that's that. We have some native integrations like Stripe, Slack, and others. You also just drag and drop these in, and then set the settings on what you want to execute. Happy to dive into those later if those are of interest. At the end, then you put a success and or error message where you can just display some JSON depending on what is happening in the API. And then at the end, you would hit deploy and the API would be live under the domain up here. And I think that's what most of our users really enjoy, is how fast everything is deployed. You switch some things around, you make a quick edit, you hit deploy, and an API is live. And you don't really have to worry about hosting it somewhere. And that's what people love. One core feature I haven't showed you, and that is the custom code. So the way that we think about our product is that it's really a low-code tool, because we know that saying low-code doesn't have any limitations. It's just not realistic. Yeah, we know that if you are using a platform and not pure code, you're going to have limitations by default. So we say, okay, we want to spin you up for a lot of these things with flow controls and other things on the no-code part as much as we can, but we want to give you the flexibility to add custom code to it whenever you really do need it. So you can just drag and drop custom code in. You can use Node.js or Python and then configure your code. You can manage packages, yeah. So any kind of package that you need, you can quickly install in here. And then on the left, and that's my favorite part, you will always have all of the context data that you're working with. Yeah? And then you can write your script here on the right, and then access the data from your context panel on the left. And maybe we can have a look at that later in action. But I think that's really key about our platform, yeah, how we work with custom code. Fastgen comes with a debug mode, so anything that you build here, you can just hit debug and then send test requests to it. Yeah, right now it's not working because we haven't really built out this API. I'll show you an example in a bit, but you can send test requests, different bodies, different headers, and things like that, and then directly see what is executed, which path is chosen, depending on which data you're sending. So of this tool, we're very proud, yeah, because we feel like debugging is something that other low-code tools sometimes are a little bit lagging. It can be frustrating. So
sure, yeah.
The injection of code and the debug mode are, I think, really two key things that we are really proud of about our platform. Okay, let's hop to the other parts of the platform quickly, and then we can look at an example or two. So next to APIs, you can also build workflows. We have two kinds of workflows, event-based one and time-based ones. Events are pretty straightforward. You can define events anywhere on the platform, and when you say, okay, this event is happening, zack, please also execute this. And time workflows are even simpler. They're just cron jobs that are running. Yeah, so you can go up here to the conditions and say, okay, please execute this every minute, once a day, every second week, or whatever. Yeah, you just set your time frame. So same interface as the API builder, just a little bit different in terms of how this is triggered. This is not an endpoint that you call, it's just running on a scheduled time frequency. And
but I guess you can build API endpoints and then use them within your workflows, I guess, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So you could say, okay, call something every minute, then you grab an HTTP request, and in here, in this request method, you just copy paste the URL.
You wouldn't find the list of your endpoints here?
I don't think we have that yet, but that's probably
not really hard. But just thinking like it's more no code if you like. If you get
I agree.
Off the bat. Yeah.
It should be available at some point. I don't think it is right now.
I guess it's not hard to add.
Yeah. Cool. So those are workflows and cron jobs. Let's quickly hop to the database. You can create as many tables as you like. We do some basic pre-validation of data points for you. So let's say we have a customer table. You can choose between text. That could be name. You could say number is, I don't know, payment ID or whatever. And then you have some options there. You can index values for quicker querying down the road. You can set minimum, maximum values. Or for anyone that wants to get a little bit more fancy, you can add your own regex pattern here at the end to have very granular control about what's happening.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
When you create a table, you have two options of working with it. Yeah, either you go in manually, like I am going in right now here and just making changes to it through the UI, or of course you just don't touch it and just make changes to it programmatically through APIs, cron jobs, or whatever. Yeah, and you can go in here, or your team members can go in here and make changes, add records, delete records. So we see that a lot of people are using, I don't know, Google Sheets, Airtable, things like that, which is fantastic and it gets you running up very quickly. But having a real Postgres database as the core of whatever you're building definitely has an advantage.
So all the CRUD endpoints are generated automatically, I guess.
We don't have that live at the moment, but Constantin, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're developing it at the moment. Can you speak on that?
Well, I mean, for CRUD endpoints, we will be building a feature soon that just gives you an endpoint for each table that you set up to quickly access.
I assume you can build that in the APIs section.
Yeah.
But
it's just
when
to
I
make
when I do my
easier.
data structure, I expect, I guess, to have the endpoints right away available.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, you would go in and see and say, okay, I don't know, get all products, for example. You drag and drop your database query, and then you say select all. That would be how you do it right now. But yeah, what you're mentioning, I think, is currently under development already. Okay, cool. Logs, very straightforward. Just a big overview of all of the requests that have been executed. Nothing too fancy here, where you can just see the headers, body responses, and things like that. One cool thing is that you can resend something. For example, if something's not working and showing an error, you can resend it immediately. And even better, you can click here on View in Builder, and then it will open that specific request in like the zoom in debug mode, so you can directly see.
If you can relaunch an execution that's more than logs, then it's
yeah. Cool. Last part, user management. You can build user auth with Fastgen. You can add them manually also. That's not happening that often, but you can.
Can you have third-party authentication?
Yes, we have all of them. We have all of them, all of the necessary, important ones at least. Google Auth, Apple, Discord, GitLab. So yeah, lots of different options that you can do. You can assign user roles, of course. You're going to have different users with different permissions. We give you a hosted page in case you want to enable it. Yeah, you have some HTML in here where you can just change your logo. And then in the settings, that goes a little bit into the ready CRUD APIs. You can create some kind of user workflows. Yeah, for example, if someone wants to verify their email again or post login, you can just click on this add template, and then in here you have an event which says post login, so you can pretty much define exactly what should be executed after a user has logged in. And then this is a blank project at the moment, but once we are adding users here, you're going to see a list of all of the users. So you're going to have a nice UI to see. And then you can filter all of the users on specific auth methods that have confirmed the email and whatnot. Maybe to give you one example before we hop into questions, here's a little thing that we actually created with a client of ours a couple of days ago. Pretty basic endpoint, but rather cool. What they do is they want to automatically create shipping labels for incoming user orders. Yeah, and what we have in here is that we are using an external API from EasyPost. EasyPost is a postal company that does all sorts of shipping products, and they have an API that you can call to create shipping labels. So what we're doing here is we're receiving some information from a user. We will then here in the request send all of the information together with our company information to that endpoint. Then in a second step, there's gonna be some data returned to us, a couple of different rates. We will take one of the rates and assign a variable to it. Then in a second step, we will say, okay, we want to buy that label from the same provider, EasyPost, and we will insert the rate that we received from the previous step. And this is then going to return the shipping label for us. And in the last step, we're going to create a PDF with a little order summary. And what I want to show you in this example is how the debug mode comes in really handy here. So in here, you can, when you're building this for your company, you can go through various different kinds of examples, yeah, and change the location, change the name and whatever, and then you hit test request, and then it's going to run through, and then you can hop in all of these things and see what it returns. We have an action log here also, and the action log shows you an overview of all of the data that has been transmitted for each of the action blocks, and then you, by clicking through this, you can see what these things return, and then see if everything is working out just the way that you want to. And if we go deeper in here, at some point, we're going to see also a shipping label. This is going to be available right under this URL, and you could then decide, okay, what do we want to do with the shipping label? Should we send it somewhere via Slack? Should we add it to a database, for example? So all of the different things. And yeah, I think that is the quickest overview I can give you of Fastgen. There are lots of tiny things and nuggets to discover, but
I'm sure there's more, but that's really, I mean, the product looks pretty mature. The only things the few things I was mentioning are, I assume, low-hanging fruits for you, and
yes.
It looks like the product is pretty rich feature-wise already. Very impressive. I think people in the chat are impressed as well. We're gonna jump into the questions, if that's okay with you. I have a couple myself, but I want to give priority to the questions in the chat. And someone's asking, the obvious question, or the elephant in the room for us, is like, what makes this product better? To be honest, it looks much nicer than Xano, but what makes it feature-wise better than Xano, in your opinion? And do you benchmark yourself compared to Xano or maybe some other solutions in that space? What's your take?
Yeah, I think the Xano comparison is quite an obvious one. As while we don't benchmark ourselves with Xano, it's obvious that we do have like a quite significant overlap of being able to achieve the same thing, maybe in a slightly different manner. So I think there are a couple of things to look at. On the one hand, the orientation in terms of features is slightly different. So Xano right now is great when it comes to no-code feature completeness. That's something where we definitely have some catching up to do. You already mentioned small bits of it right now. However, what we've heard from clients is that it makes your life unnecessarily difficult if you want to introduce some code to your workflows. So I think that's one thing where we know that we cannot provide you a very mature product right from the start. So we rather focus on enabling you to do what you need to do. So not limiting you as much as we can, which is custom code and stuff like that, while building out the no-code completeness. So I think that's one thing. Then the second thing is a price, right? So we chose a different approach. So we don't assign every user a virtual machine, which means that there is a lower cost of entry, if you only use a few resources, you don't have to pay for a full server each month. And at the same time, ironically, is better at scaling and handling load, as you're not constrained to the resources of that one virtual machine that's assigned to you. But we can like quickly spin up and use more. And then last but not least, what you already mentioned, but it's nothing to underestimate in my opinion, and that is developer experience. As a developer, you're spending hours and hours and hours in the tool of your choice. And I think that's something you can only experience while working with the tools, but I think that's something where Fastgen shines as well.
All right, yeah, thank you. Just to elaborate a bit more or expand a bit more on the pricing. So let me pull up your pricing page. Oops. There you go. And your pricing strategy looks a bit similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with that one with Make, where you get on the different plan, different set of features, but also number of executions or runs for your scenarios. And for you, just wanted to just confirm here that the number of execution is like regardless of the complexity of what's going on.
Well, no, not regardless of the complexity. It's based on how many actions you have in your flows. We don't differentiate between the actions. Each, I think it is 10
you get here like text flow run, so it doesn't look like it's like it depends on how complex the flow is.
Well, it is not the number of actions individually, but there's a certain threshold. So I think it's 10 right now. So if you have more than 10, it's counted as one flow run. Or 10 or less is one flow run. Up to the next 20 is another one. It's simply
it depends on the number of actions. So it's just like sort of blended into the number of flows in that unit.
Correct. The reason you need to do that is otherwise people will put like 500 actions in one flow, which doesn't really
with
help
conditions
them.
to execute. No,
exactly.
I see. You'll try to work around your pricing strategy. Yeah, I see.
Exactly.
Understood. So it's like fair usage, so somewhat for the flow runs.
Right.
Got it.
And apart from that, it's a simple usage-based and tiered model, as you explained. So you have a number of flow runs included each month, and only if you surpass your allotted amount, you pay extra.
Got it. And in terms of server location, because you mentioned we're all on the same cluster, so is there only one location available, or are we able to choose between a few different locations? Or
yeah, you are able to choose between different locations. Right now,
in case we want to host the data with you, right? Or even though follow the logs, I guess it would make still sense to choose the location. Yeah.
So the location for us, database and server is independent from each other. You can have a database in US and server in UK or EU.
Oh, nice.
Right now, that still happens manually. So if you sign up per default, you're hosted in the US, but you can reach out to us and we can set you on a different server location. And then mid of next year, we will launch self-select when sign up for server locations.
Is the price going to be more or less the same, or do you have?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Good. Another question I had is in terms of like what boosts, I guess, adoption for this kind of backend tool is like when a front end tool sort of natively integrates you in a way. Do you have like some ongoing discussions or already maybe existing like integrations by those front-end tools?
Yes, I think we are in talks regarding an integration with all of the major front-end tools, the two that are the farthest and where we actually have already done our part and are just waiting on their side is WeWeb and Toddle.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And yeah. And that I think will be coming early next year.
Just typing in the name for the audience in case they didn't get it. WeWeb and Toddle. This was one, right? Yeah. Excellent. And can you tell us a bit about like what type of company or people use Fastgen? What's your ideal, I don't know, customer? Because right now, today, you're presenting to a no-code, mostly audience. Although internally here at Allegria, we do use tools that are almost low-code or low-code. We do a lot of Flutterflow, for instance, and we use Xano also, which can be considered as almost a low-code tool because it's fairly technical. So what's your ideal customer? Who did you build this for?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started out, our most logical assumption would be that founders or small startups are the best target group to go for in the beginning, as obviously that was our experience wanting to go from 0 to 1 really quickly with little overhead. So that's the obvious part. But then I think the more interesting thing happened while we were selling to startups. We noticed that more of our signups are coming from agencies, freelancers, product studios, so essentially people building products for other people. So that makes up a large part of our user base now. But then also you find people from slightly larger companies that are not implementing it as their main backend tool, but are building internal tools or like small additions for things that they need. So that's a growing side. And then obviously lots of, even small projects, people that are doing their projects individually. So I think it's a good mix between agencies, startups, makers, and slowly but surely people from larger companies as well.
Got it. And the final question maybe is what's next on the product roadmap, but besides or beyond, I would say the small things we identified maybe during the demo, but what are the major big things that are coming up?
Yeah. So I think over this year we've built a good base of all the fundamentals that we needed. I think we achieved that goal. So right now we're just trying to go after all these low-hanging fruits that are there. We are extremely customer-centered, so we do listen to what our users say and try to get things out as soon as possible. So that will be going on for a couple more weeks, I think, because there's a bit to catch up on. But then we will be looking at the next bigger features, but I don't want to spoiler too much here.
All right. But I mean, the product looks already pretty comprehensive. So I'm guessing also there's probably going to be some work under the hood for performance and things like that. Not features visible from the user perspective, but are definitely going to improve the product. I don't know if you have like I assume you have like status page where we can see like the uptime and things like that, or
yes, yep, yeah, you can. I think it's just status.fastgen.
Yeah, I think it's status.fastgen.
Yeah,
got it. All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much for a very great demo. We'll send the recording to everybody in the community. Oh, and Ma had a last minute question about where are you based, or are you distributed, or do you have like a location somewhere? I know you are in our time zone. I spoke with Mike from your team. He's like in another time zone. So where are you guys based?
Yeah, those I think remains from the first company, which was a US company. But most of the teams are German, so now we're split between Germany and the US. So our product and engineering is based in Berlin, and then sales and ops in New York.
Got it. And legally speaking, are you a US entity or a?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yes. Again, thank you very much for the great demo. I think we'll be eager to give Fastgen a try. I think the product is really sexy, and so I think we'll definitely give it a go with maybe an actual project or pet project. Let's see. Thanks a lot, guys, for today. Thanks for your time, and I hope you all enjoy.
Thanks for
having us.
Thank you very
much. Bye-bye, everyone.